good morning. I have realized that I have not updated y'all on wrap-ups in quite some time, and we're basically in August. This is August 1st, and I go back to work on Monday. And I can't find all my physical books that I've read, so I have no idea. Of course, I was rearranging things, so I don't know where everything is, and I do have a lot of ebooks that I have read as well. So let's start with June, and hopefully I can remember everything, because I'm like, well, a good thing I have my notebook. But yeah, let's get into it. First book we're going to talk about is Sakamoto Days. It's a manga. We are introduced to this hitman, and he has fallen in love. He has gotten married. He had a kid, and basically his wife told him, if you keep doing this, we're not going to be together. So he opens a grocery store, and now all these people are trying to come get him. And we are introduced to Shin, who has been sent to kill Takemoto. And he realizes that he doesn't want to actually do that, and he actually becomes Sakamoto's friend and throughout the thing. So I was introduced to this series by Netflix, and I did not actually know there were books out until I happened across them at Barnes & Noble. 2 is basically they're at an amusement park, and they're trying to keep a secret of what's happening from his wife and his daughter, and they're kind of going around, and they're like, okay, this is assassin coming, and okay, we need to hang out with the daughter, we need to do this, we need to block this, and that's what's going on here. I had the vacation one, which I thought was the actual first one, so I had to go back and get that in a different Barnes. So that was fun all together, and so on and so forth. And this was the arcade one, and of course this guy ends up being another one of the people that Sakamoto might befriend, because he does appear in, I think, a couple other episodes in the show if you are watching that. This is where the sharp sniper called Hisakute, I cannot say that correctly. So, basically they enter a competition through an arcade, and they have to compete for prizes, and of course Sakamoto is on a hit list anyway. This is the last volume I got, and I will say it's the one that I remember the least of, and I don't know if it's because of the mood I was in or what exactly happened, but we're just investigating some legendary stuff. We are finding out that Shin has some unique abilities, and we're basically saving Shin from these weird people. Yeah, so it's really they're not really after Sakamoto until the end of it, so yeah. Daisy Chain Flower Shop by Lloyd Gilmore. I enjoyed this. Now, the one previous to it, I did not like that much. But basically, this shop is supposedly cursed to doom relationships. So everybody is avoiding it, and they are, okay, and Daisy's worried that she's not going to be able to keep the shop open because everybody's avoiding it for their weddings, and etc. and so on. And then one person said that they would go to Daisy's shop only if she would promise them that the relative would break up. But Daisy comes from a long line of Daisies, and every person in the shop is Daisy something. Daisy May, Daisy June, Daisy November, etc. and so on. And this is more of a fake dating thing, because Elliot is just coming out of a relationship. He doesn't really want a relationship, and his family's kind of like, oh, you need to find someone, you need to move on, you need to do this, you need this, etc. and so on. And it's them falling in love. And will the shop be shaved? I have no idea. Y'all have to find out. The second this came out, I had to get my hand on it. We are following Jonathan and Juliet. So Jonathan Darcy, Juliet Tilly. We are following the aftermath of the previous book, where Juliet's reputation is destroyed, of course, by our evil nemesis. Well, not quite her, but of course Caroline Bingley had to interfere in some freaking way. And we are, because obviously Jonathan and Juliet have an attraction to each other, etc. And I was very mad towards the end of this book, because of course Mr. Darcy is just going to be a pain in the butt about it, and of course his sister-in-law Jane, he's going to have to put him in his place, because Jane basically brought up, didn't you do the same stuff to me? You did the same stuff to me. You're doing exactly what you're doing to your son, like you did to me. So yeah, this is basically Mr. Hirsch and stuff is found deceased, and you have to figure out what was the motive, etc. and so on. And I just loved how it wrapped up, and I can't wait for the next one to come out. And I will say this author was not my favorite until she came out with this particular series. I kind of avoided this author. And once I saw Pride and Prejudice and etc. and so on, I just gravitated to it and just jumped on it. And I'm glad I did. I'm glad I gave this author another chance. From there, we mainly have ebooks. And some of them have not been my favorite, because I can't, for the life of me, remember certain things that had happened in them. So the first one I'm going to talk about is Grim Reader by Margaret Welch. And I will say, I am having a hard time remembering. So in Grim Reader, Faith is at the castle, and she is trying to do author signings and stuff, but the main author has disappeared, and we do not know exactly what happened and stuff, but we're thinking that there is some mischief involved. Now, I kind of went down a rabbit hole, and by that, I was really interested in a particular topic, and I was thinking the Night Marchers. So I wanted to watch and read things about the Night Marchers, and I found this book on ebook, Hawaiian Night Marchers, on the history of it. And I have learned a lot, but I cannot tell you from the videos I was watching, plus the book, what is what. Other than you cannot disrespect them, and they can be on any path, any type of night. And if you are not a native, even if you are a native, you're not supposed to look at them. Get down on the ground, etc. Do not look up. And pray that somebody you know is in the Night Marchers and stuff. So, yeah. A Deadly Chapter by Jane Field, where once again, as I go blank, Deadly Chapter is basically a Scrooge retelling, and we are following the Scrooge and Faith as she navigates the Christmas time stuff. And as you can tell, I cannot remember a lot for the life of me, so I kind of take this with a grain of salt. So, I adore this series. The cat red-handed, we are following, I'm getting her confused with another person that's very similar to her. Now that I remember the name, because I'm getting Nora from a different book, and that I knew that wasn't right. Okay, we're following Lou as she is moving on with her relationship with Noah, and they are kind of together and stuff, and she has somebody renting out the apartment above the bookstore. And not only that, we have a new thrift store owner named Ellen. Oh, not Ellen, Elaine. My brain today. Yeah. And she is kind of on the run from her ex-husband and stuff like that. So, there's two things going on. Raven is found at the scene of the crime with the weapon. And Elaine is, of course, nowhere near the scene of the crime, but she is somehow connected to this all and stuff and thing. So, Lou is trying to figure out what is going on, because she doesn't believe that Raven would do this at all. And she is correct. So, Catch You Red-Handed, it basically play on words, and I just love the characters and stuff so much. And Marigold, how she grew up in this book. I love it. My math is mathing right. That was about 11 or 12 books for June. That's pretty good. Regardless that most of them were manga. Safe Room by Lisa Unger for July. I would have to say the book was quite short. I did not quite care for it at all because I did not quite understand what was going on. It was more, more tied to her father, the main character's father, as she's kind of going through his stuff, because the father was like high up in like law enforcement and stuff like that. So I didn't quite grasp what was going on. So I rated this quite low, and yeah. And that was my first Lisa Unger book. I'm going to give her another chance, but I don't think I should have started with a smaller one. Ghost Rider was not quite what I was expecting. So, and by that I mean the Taylor family is shattered by a incident where the two of the siblings have been killed in the past, and the brother is now part of that. And by that, I mean he's the only survivor, so obviously they're going to look at him and say that he's the one that did this. And stuff like that. So, we are finding out secrets. We are finding out people are not what they are supposed to be, not said to be. People that are adults shouldn't be in the position that they are in, etc. and so on. And the daughter is now writing the memoir for her father, who can no longer remember certain aspects of things. So, that's that. Neon Moon was creepy and totally out of the field that I normally read. I picked it because of the cover, and I figured I would read through it pretty fast. It is basically, I would say, relationship abuse. That's the best way I can describe it. But unhinged, psychotic, creepy, and a whole bunch of people tied to it, and there shouldn't have been. It just was a rant spree of one night, and a lot of questionable choices, and a lot of, oh my gosh, what just happened, kind of a thing. This right here. Story about this book, I went to the front of Barnes & Noble, and the lady was like, if you like this, you will probably like this, because this was not even on my radar. And this is about a woman who comes back from a run. She has left behind her important documents, her jewelry, her phone, stuff that I wouldn't imagine leaving. And another woman answers the door, looks exactly like her, etc. and so on. And you just, every twist, every turn of this book and stuff is like, whoa. You're like, how is this connected? Is this true? Is he really, how many people is this guy with? What is going on? You really, if that's what is going on, that is basically this book. Because how many people was this guy actually with? Why do they all look the same? Etc. and so on and so forth. I will say this. I put this book down and came back to it. I shouldn't have never put it down. Because this actually ended up being rather good, in my opinion. And this is a debut novel, as far as I understand, because I have not found anything else by this particular author. Because I was looking for more about this author. Now, Greer Austin her mother had just died, and she goes back to the place where she is, there was a mystery, etc. and so on. And it turns out there was more than one mystery. There was a fire that night, and one of the campers, one of her friends, died. So, what happened that night? Etc. and so on. And how could it be tied to another mystery that occurred many years ago? All these friends are connected, all these things, and it just seemed more sisterly, more things. What was the mother hiding too? Because she had some skeletons. And the tie between the best friend and the previous person that left, that was surprising. Secrets, relationships, other relationships that you do not expect, because I wasn't expecting the cousin to get with the ex-fiance. So, the other cousin. Or at least it seemed that way. Dungeon Crawler Call, of course, I wanted to have my own graphic novel of things. The artwork in this is wonderful. But it's basically, if you haven't read the book, the world has ended, basically as we know it, and we are all entered into the game, and Carl enters with his ex-girlfriend, Cat, Donut, and they go on an adventure, so to speak. The dangerous thing kind of threw me for a loop, because we were expecting is to go out off the rails, etc., and so on. I will say that I wasn't expecting the cheating and stuff, and it kind of reminded me of the Husband, Other Wife, the previous book I talked about. And by that, not the kidnapping and stuff, but the fact that how many mistresses this guy had, and how many rabbit holes we had to dig through, and how everything was connected. How many murders did this person get away with and finally get caught? And get caught by something that they may or may have not done. The connection with how people looked similar again. How many mistresses look similar. It just, and the fact that she did get some resolve in the back in the end. She did get to find out what happened to her son, and that she's not crazy, and she finally may have gotten some sleep, because that girl had not slept in a year. It was just so crazy and stuff, and I should have picked this book up sooner, and yeah. Yes, on the Lanai, I put this book down too. I mean, and I kept picking it up. Blanche gets a box that she thinks is for her, and it comes with a brooch, and seeing how there's no note attached, they all forego, and they end up in a villa. And apparently this is Blanche's ex from way back when, and he is now a famous artist, and he ends up, of course, murdered, and the girls are looked at as suspects, but the police cannot get on the island, so they have the person that is kind of investigating there, one of the friends, and he's kind of sketchy and stuff, and there's this pet alligator with my name, and I was like, oh shoot, I hope the alligator didn't eat anybody. But yeah, the girls are just in for a hoot, and of course, Rose is always bing bongy, and it's always Dorsey that seems to figure it out before everyone else does. Do what's going on. Yeah. Now, Forget Me Not is by the same author as All the Dangerous Things, and that was creepy too. That guy creeped me out, and there's more than one guy that creeped me out. And the connections and this brainwash kind of a thing. Cause I mean, if you're 18 and I know you're lonely, etc., and this girl is lonely, and she ends up on a farm away from her parents, and she ends up in a spree of criminal activities, and making some decisions that you are wanting to go, what are you thinking? And stuff. So, and the fact that this keeps repeating, there's more and more girls disappearing, and all connected to this farm, and all connected to this, and the cop that is corrupted, or it appears to be corrupted, that he letting this guy get away with this. And the man that is didn't even do anything, that's behind bars for this, that murder that he had nothing to do with. It's just, and then to find out there's people pretending to be other people that they are not, etc. It's just so crazy, and it just threw me for a loop. Yeah. And so with that, I will see you in the next one. I believe that was, I have no idea how many books that was. I believe that was about 6 books for July. That is not bad. Wow. I have no idea how August will be though. With that, I will see you in the next one. Bye.